So, back to the Jussie Smollett Brigade. I received 25 lashes from my wife for my white privilege. And I just might share this video with you at some point. You'll be able to see me with my shirt off getting whipped. Like I said, I took 25 lashes, each one for a different aspect of my so-called privilege, like buying gas, my job, my family, my house, my income. These are all privileges that other minorities don't get. So I took a lash from a whip for each individual one of them. And it was totally necessary, like I said. But I don't want to get too far into that. We have a little bit to cover here. And like I said, I might release the video if YouTube... I'm kind of debating it because you never know how YouTube will handle something like watching a white man get whipped. Anyway, to the episode here. Reparations for Jussie Smollett. Even though it doesn't exist, my white privilege is what I'm talking about. I think we can put to death this obnoxious idea of white privilege. Can't we? I really think so. I've been inundated with this fantastic story. This story that purports to whittle down all of American existence to either white privilege or those who are oppressed by said privilege. I'm sure most of you have heard something about all of this on the news. If you don't watch CNN or MSNBC, then good for you. They routinely peddle the concept that because I have a paler shade of skin than, say, Michael Jackson did. Wait, he was pale as a ghost. My skin is paler than Barack Obama, although he is half white. Okay. I'm paler than LeBron James. So because I'm paler than LeBron James, I owe him something. Just because I was born white. A long time ago, some white people owned black people as slaves. And now today, groups like Black Lives Matter and several Democratic candidates are floating this demented idea of reparations. I owe black people money even though nobody can prove that my parents owned a single slave. And who do I give the money to? How can each individual black person prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that their parents were slaves? Does anyone realize how ludicrous this idea is? It's fraught with potential for fraud. If a white family's money is taken and they later prove that no one in their family tree owned slaves, then the government just robbed them. If a black family receives money for reparations and it's proven there were no slaves in their family tree, then they just committed fraud. So is this idea even worth it? Well, not from where I'm sitting. Of course, I'd say that, though. My white privilege means I'm always going to say rude, selfish, narcissistic, privilege stuff like so. But again, in 2019, does this privilege exist? And if it does, where is it? Where? I would submit that after the Jussie Smollett fiasco, scandal, or whatever you want to call it, this fantasy has been obliterated. Jussie Smollett is the most privileged man in America. He's also black and gay, two of progressive America's most marginalized groups. So this kid should be victim number one. And in a country like ours, where perceived victimhood is actually viewed as a perverse form of currency, we're seeing how the country's supposed victims are now actually the elite privileged. I have to take a moment to make sure you all understand how absurd progressive America's definitions for racism and victimhood are. Look, these liberals actually believe it is impossible for a black man to be a racist. He can hate white people for being white. He could join the Black Panthers and participate in openly overt acts of traditional racism, and yet he could never actually be a racist because of his past. He couldn't actually be a racist because historically his family tree has been oppressed. Because typically white people have held positions of societal power and influence, so they can never be victims of racism. Just because in the past they've held positions of power. I hope, for the love of all that is decent on earth, I don't have to explain to anyone how unjust this concept is, how unfair and hypocritical it is, how demented these people's minds must be to come up with such a philosophy. how disingenuous and dishonest politicians are who adopt said ideas, how fake celebrities are who know better. Most of them know better. They have to know better. Jussie Smollett, he knows better. He knows deep down that faking a hate crime is horrible. He knows it because God has given each of us a conscience. But he ignored his. He willfully, selfishly, narcissistically staged a fake hate crime. And even as all the evidence mounted up against him, and the public became aware that he had made fools of everyone, this selfish punk stuck to his lie. And I don't need to go into the details. You all know them by now. But Jussie Smollett not only lied, he falsely demonized an entire voting group in this country, and an entire racial group as well. He demonized white people and Trump voters, all for his own gain. So I ask you, how is that not racist? In my book, Jussie Smollett is a racist, in addition to being many other unflattering things, attributes, whatever. But he now epitomizes pure privilege, the privilege of the elite, the powerful. Those with connections to power can get off no matter how ugly or gratuitous the crime. Welcome to the new privileged. It's the minority that are privileged now. But no matter what happens, don't talk to me about my white privilege ever again, or the absurd patriarchy. Because it's a woman's world in court now. We all know this. Ask Cardi B about women being oppressed. This is a rapper, a super wealthy rapper, who has bragged about drugging men and robbing them. Back when she was a hooker, I mean stripper, I mean exotic dancer, whatever. She literally, on Twitter, admitted to taking men back from the strip club, drugging them, and robbing them as they lay defenseless in the hotel room bed. And after she said this on Twitter, she not only didn't express sorrow, but after there was a sort of blowback regarding the tweets, she doubled down on them. Imagine the fallout if a man admitted to drugging and robbing women. His career would be in tatters for a start, and that's only the beginning. That's after the mobs drag him out of his house and castrate him and crucify him to the nearest telephone pole. So how does anyone not see this? How does anyone not see what's going on here? Cardi B openly admits to this kind of behavior, and instead of being contrite or apologizing, offering penance, she justifies it. She says, well, that's what I had to do to get by. I did what I had to do. It's life. I had a tough life. Give me a break. Are you kidding me? But this is the end game of decades of godless moral relativism, the official result of years of teaching our young that being you is the most precious and valuable thing you can be, besides being a victim, obviously. But we're not instructing our kids in right and wrong or teaching them that moral self-improvement just might be a positive thing. No. How you are, your faults, sins, and depravities is what you should embrace, and damn the consequences. So I never want to hear about the patriarchy again either, or my white privilege. So I say this, teach your kids right from wrong, and these things won't happen. You won't have the Cardi B's or the Jussie Smolletts. If you don't teach your kids that being a victim is the most precious and most esteemed thing to aspire to, then we won't have these fake hate crimes, and men won't be getting drugged and robbed in hotel rooms. And then we won't be excusing it and rationalizing the behavior and then condemning the same behavior when it's committed by others who happen to be of another gender or another race. So teach your kids right from wrong, give them a moral foundation on which to base their lives and from which they can measure their lives and grow and improve. You'll be doing the best thing for your children if you just start with that. But that's all the episode I have time for tonight. So good night and God be with you.